get into any receiving drills, let's first talk about the fundamentals of receiving and being a catcher. So the number one rule for a catcher is to catch the ball. This might sound obvious, but it's important. It's important that we focus on catching the ball first before we start to receive and frame it like we see how the pros do. After that, I believe it's our job to present the ball to the umpire as best we can. So how do we do that? I believe being soft and quiet with our body movement and our glove movement is the best way to do this. Our job is to keep strikes. So if we have a pitch in the strike zone, we don't want to take it outside the strike zone and lose that strike for our pitcher. Once we become effective with doing that, we then get those boundary pitches that we can turn into strikes. Those boundary pitches are balls, a ball or two below, up, outside, or in that we can turn into strikes. Now this is when we start to really make our money. So let's get into some receiving drills. So the first drill we're going to talk about is going to be a basic bare hand wall ball drill. The focus with this drill would be quiet with our body movement as well as receiving the ball in a soft manner. So this drill, you can use a tennis ball, a rubber ball such as this, or a baseball. It really does not matter. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So as you'll see here, it's going to be very simple. We're just receiving it off here. And what you'll notice is my glove hand before the pitch is set up below the zone. And there's a reason for this. If my glove is set up in the middle of the zone and there's a ball that is below my hand, in order for me to go and get that, I have to go down to it. I have to catch the top half of the baseball. And what this does is it brings the ball lower. And this can lose a strike for a pitcher because the umpire sees it lower than the pitch actually is. So in order to prohibit that, I keep my glove below the zone. At the very least, I want to have it a ball or two below the zone. This is because we talk about those boundary pitches that are a ball or two below the zone that we can turn into strikes. If I have any pitch that I want to turn into a strike that is below my glove, then I'm not going to be able to keep it a strike. Therefore, I have it at the very least just below the zone. Some people like to have their glove all the way on the ground. This comes down to personal preference. But as you'll see, I'm down here and staying below the ball and trying to catch the bottom half of this baseball instead of the top half. That way, I can come up with it through. So the next drill we have is going to be a great progression from our previous drill. So this drill is called a wall ball short hop drill. And when we do this drill, we're emphasizing working on that low pitch. And when we do this drill, it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to throw it here and work on that low pitch there. It's important to note that we want to work on extending through this pitch rather than picking it up like this. The reason we don't want to pick it up like this is our job is to present the ball as best we can to the umpire. When we pick up the pitch like this, we have our umpire, who's going to be on our left shoulder, most likely. He has a much harder time of seeing where this pitch is back here. If he can't see where the pitch is, he's probably not going to call it a strike. Versus, if I'm catching it and extending it all the way out here, he has a much easier time of seeing where this pitch is. Another important thing we want to think about is when we're working on this pitch, we're working on extending it and keeping it at the bottom of the zone. A common tendency amongst players is to take a pitch and move it all the way to the middle of the zone. The problem with this is, number one, it's excess movement that we don't need. Remember, our job is to be as quiet as we can and unnoticed as a catcher. Another thing we have to think about is when we move a pitch all the way back to the middle of the zone, we got to think about what the umpire sees. Chances are your pitcher is not throwing 98 miles an hour. Therefore, our umpire knows a general gist of where that pitch is. So he knows that pitch is low. He knows it's not in the middle of the zone. And from my experience working with umpires as a catcher and then being an umpire myself, umpires tend to lose the trust of the catcher when he's trying to almost fool the umpire and think it's all the way back in the middle of the zone. Why is that trust important? When you need a call late in the game that's on that borderline, it comes down to the relationship you built with that umpire throughout the game. So we can work this drill in our primary stance as well as our secondary stance. So remember, our secondary stance is going to be our stance that we get in whenever we need to be able to block or throw the ball. This will happen to be in counts that are with 2 strikes or if there's a runner on base. So as you can see, these are very easy drills we can do by ourselves. Like I said, all you need is a ball and a wall. That being said, if you have a partner, whether it's a teammate, a brother, sister, or parent, that is willing to underhand toss to you or throw overhand, it makes it very effective as well. Another fun drill we can do with the wall is we can take 2 balls and we can work on our hand-eye coordination with it. Now the cool thing with this drill is any player, regardless of catcher, infielder, outfielder, can work on this drill. All it is you take 2 balls and you get against the wall and you work on your hand-eye coordination. So once you get that drill down, we can start crisscrossing the balls and really make it difficult. So now we're going to get into some footwork and transfer drills. This first drill is going to be a bare hand wall ball transfer. So the first thing we want to think about with this drill is where we're transferring the ball. It's important that we keep our transfer out in front of our chest versus taking that pitch with our glove hand and bringing it all the way back here and transferring. When we do this, what happens is our shoulders invariably get pointed towards right field and second base. When that's the case, in order for us to throw towards second base, we have to cut all the way back around and go over them. This is inefficient and it's going to lead to inaccuracy. When we keep it out front, we keep those shoulders open and in line towards second base. Another thing we want to think about is how we are transferring this baseball. It's important that when we have this ball, that we transfer it and keep it above our chest and nipple line. So I'm here, boom, like this. What we want to avoid is catching it and dropping that hand all the way down here. What this creates is a long and loopy path. When we're throwing to second or making any throw as a catcher, we're trying to cut out any excess movement. This leads to extra time. One way I like to think about this is when I catch this ball, I like to think that there's a number on the opposite side of this baseball. And my goal is to see this number. In order for me to see this number, I have to turn my hand to the left like this and flip it this way. If I drop it down, I'm not able to see that number. So I'm here, here, here. This next drill is the T drill. This drill is one of the best drills you can do out there for footwork. As you can see, it's very basic, and what we have here is tape with the letter T here. Now what you'll see is I'm going to set up my feet on the horizontal part of the T, and I'm going to use the vertical part of the T as a guide for my footwork to second. Now I'm here, and I'm looking to stay on line towards second base. Now what this vertical line will help me with is if I get here and I'm like this, I can simply pause and look down and notice I'm pointing towards shortstop. The same thing goes with if I'm here and I'm closed off. I simply look down and look that I'm pointing towards the second baseman. Again, I'm right here and I'm looking to stay on line towards second. Now, each catcher is going to be different. Some like to be a little open and some like to be a little closed off. It's personal preference and it depends on the throwing style, but we can use this as a guide to stay in line towards second. Once we gain consistency with our alignment towards second base with our footwork, we're then going to focus on whether we're gaining or losing ground. As you'll see again, I'm going to set up on the horizontal part of the tee. I'm going to put my toes right behind the tape. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to gain 3 to 6 inches towards second base. So I'm here and I'm there. Now, what we don't want to do is we don't want to gain too much ground or lose ground. When we gain too much ground, it looks like this. Now, the problem with this is wasted movement. This will slow us down, and our goal really is to get our foot down as quick as possible. The same thing happens when we lose ground. We're here, and then going back like this. This causes a loss of power and a loss of momentum. That is going to increase our pop time. Again, we're looking to gain just roughly 3 to 6 inches towards second base. For me, I have a slight offset with my footwork to second base. So my left foot is slightly in front of my right foot. Therefore, when I'm right here, I am thinking about taking my right foot, which becomes my back foot, and almost replacing it with where my left foot is right here. So I'm here, there. Again. Feet right behind the toe, right behind the tape. Here, there. A cool part of this drill is the many variations you can do with it. We obviously have the pitch right down the middle that we can do with the bare hand. What we can also do is we can work different pitches that force us to make sure we stay in line. Here you see the inside pitch, which is going to normally drag us and go like this. We have to think about taking it with our hand and bringing it back towards our middle to keep us in line, like that. Again, that's here, there. Here we have the low and outside pitch that's gonna force us, that might take us like this. We have to again keep our posture and stay in line. Here, outside pitch, again stay in line. What we can do is we can add our glove to it and work on the glove to hand transfer. Again, like we'd worked with the transfers, we want to have it out front and not drop it. So I'm here, there, there. Another cool part is we can add the tee into this. So what we're going to have here is set up here. And we'll work on taking it from the tee right here. There. Again, you can work all types of positions. We can go all the way up. There. One more. There. Another variation we could do is to get a bouncy ball and throw it off a wall and transfer the ricochet with the tee drill. Now, let's get into some blocking drills. This first blocking drill is going to be another wall ball drill in which we're going to work on flipping that glove over. The first thing we have to realize is our glove always leads our block. This gives us the momentum and quickness to get down here. As you'll see, it leads the block. So with this drill, we're really emphasizing starting with that glove and getting it down to the ground. One thing we want to think about is we want to make sure that gets into the ground with a vertical angle. What we don't want to have happen is we don't want to leave, get it to the ground, but then have it come up and a ball go through the 5-hole. There's nothing worse than a ball going through the 5-hole. As I mentioned with the vertical angle, we don't want to have an angle such as this. When this is the case, a ball can ricochet off of here and go anywhere. Versus if it's a vertical angle, straight down, it's going to hit off here and likely stay there. The next thing we want to think about is the angle of our chest when we're doing this drill and in any block. What you'll notice is I'm looking to have a roughly 45-degree angle of my chest. What I don't want to have is my chest straight up like this. When this is the case, it can go anywhere off of here. And the same thing happens if I go to the other extreme. If I get too far over my knees, what happens is I lose the surface area that I need to make a successful block. If I'm right here, the ball could bounce and go over my head. What I want to have is I want to have roughly a 45-degree angle and let it hit off such as that. There are two distinct styles you will see with blocking with most catchers. First, we have the kickback. Here, I am replacing my knees with where my feet are. Going like this. Again, replacing where my knees with my feet. If you look at it from the side, you will see what I mean. Here. The second blocking style involves you shooting your knees forward and gaining ground with the block. I will show it from the side. One of the pros of gaining ground when you make a block is you decrease the length of the bounce that the ball takes in the dirt. Let me demonstrate. Here, the ball bounces right here. If I gain ground and get to here, it has a much better shot of hitting off of my chest right here. But if I'm in the same spot and kick back, it has a much better shot of taking a longer hop and going over my shoulder and hitting off and going to the fence. A kickback style block is often used by most catchers when you're blocking a fastball or a pitch you aren't expecting to be in the dirt. This kickback gives you a little bit extra reaction time and allows you to deaden the ball a little quicker. Now we're going to do a blocking progression. The first part of this progression is going to be us in our secondary, which again is where we can block and where we can throw from. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get here and I'm going to start with that glove already on the ground. Like we said, the glove leads the block. So I'm going to take this out of the equation and really focus on what my feet are doing here. So I'm here, going to the middle, going like that. Now I will go to my right. Here I will set up my glove on my right foot to get that slight momentum going towards that way. So going to the left now. The next part of this blocking progression is to just do a normal dry block. Here, still again, I'm thinking about starting the block with my hands. Going to my right, still starting with the hands. The next drill in this blocking progression is going to be a 3-ball block and recovery drill. Again, we're going to be focusing on getting our glove into the dirt and leading with our glove when we block, and also having a good chest angle. When we do this drill, we're focusing on getting in that good blocking position. Then we're seeing how fast we can explode back up. There. Again, down here, going there. When I do this drill, I tend to do 7, 8, or 9 reps. A couple to the left, a couple to the middle, and a couple to the right. This final drill in the blocking progression is going to be a block and recover with footwork. Here, I'm going to toss the ball in any direction. I'm going to work on all types of blocks. When I'm doing this, I'm focusing on getting into that good blocking position, but then shooting back up and grabbing that ball with footwork to second, first, or third base. I can throw the ball anywhere, like I said, and work on any block. When we block a baseball with the runner on, our next job is to retrieve the ball. A tendency amongst catchers is to block the ball first, but then before we retrieve the ball, scan to see if that runner is trying to advance. When we do this, we lose that split second that we need to actually throw that runner out. Therefore, when we block, retrieve the ball in a quick but controlled manner and expect to throw to the base that the runner is trying to advance to. This final drill is called the snake drill. Here, I have 6 balls set up in a snake-like formation, and we're going to work our blocks to the middle, left, and right.